Well, emotional intelligence is very important, especially when you work in the operations department. Maybe I'll just begin with the learnership people. In the learnerships, the job placement is not guaranteed. That's where it all begins. You are in the learnership to be taught about the processes and the plant. But at the same time, you get an opportunity to interact with your potential future employer. How you behave and respond to tasks that are given to you goes a very long way. You may be the most intelligent person in the learnership class, but if you respond negatively to tasks that are given to you, always complaining, showing negative gestures, those are all the things that those in supervision and management will observe. And when it comes to time for placement, they will look for those, yes, intelligent people, but also well-behaved and well-mannered, and people who respond well to tasks that are given. Because at the end of the day, all you are employed to do is to perform certain tasks. So it is up to you as an individual that you respond positively to show that you do want to do this job. Because when you react negatively, a supervisor may think that, hey, this guy maybe he doesn't like this job, or he doesn't like to be given tasks, and they may then prefer to send someone else. So it goes a long way how you respond to any situation that you get confronted with. In the workplace, you will encounter various types of characters in people. Some are abrupt in their speech, but once again, it all depends on how you respond to them. I have encountered some very well-mannered young people, and I myself have learnt a lot from these very highly emotionally intelligent young people who are positive. They respond very well. They are willing to take over any task that is given to them. They don't ever show any negativity, and I really appreciate those young people, and I myself have even learned from them, and it gives you hope that there's a future for the organization when we have such well-mannered people. My name is Senzo Thabethe. I come from Pinetown, in a small town called St. Wendolins. I grew up there, and then when I was a teenager, I moved to Lamontville. When I was growing up, my grandfather gave me a nickname, Gwejo Bovu. So my nickname is Gwejo. Senzo is a father to 2 daughters, a spiritual man, and a dedicated worker at the engine refinery. I'm an area specialist at the engine refinery in the operations department. I did my matric at Umlazi in a good school called Vukuzakhe High School. They gave us a lot of career guidance. They assisted us in getting us to go to companies, and they even assisted in us getting bursaries to study at tertiary. And I was one of those that got fortunate to get a bursary to study at university. But when I was doing matric, I started falling sick, and I still made it to pass matric with an exemption. But as I got to university, it got worse with me, and eventually I had to come out of university. While I was at home, a friend of mine told me that there was an advert at the engine refinery. He thinks I should apply. It would be relevant to where I am in life at that time. He gave me the reference. I then applied to the engine refinery, but I also thought I must also apply to SAPREF equally. I was taken at the engine refinery on a learnership, a 6-month learnership, which at that time we called it probation. After that 6-month probation, then I was taken on permanently. The job that I was on a learnership on was on process operations. I was going to work in the refinery as a process operator. They take you with a matric or with any qualification you may have had in the science field. Basically, you need matric, maths and science. In the learnership, we were taught about plant safety, fundamentals of process operations. We were also taught firefighting, because as an operator, you are in the cold face of the plant, and when there are upsets, you need to be able to get involved in emergency firefighting. When I finished the probation, and I was taken on as a process operator in a section or zone called the combo section. And my first unit in which I trained was the vacuum unit. The vacuum unit takes its feed from the crude unit, but that's where I began my career as a process operator. These days, process operators are called process technicians. When I passed out on the vacuum unit, meaning that I trained and I was assessed and deemed competent on the vacuum unit, I then moved on to another section. There are about 4 units per zone, and you must pass all these 4 units in order for you to become a senior operator. From senior operator, you would then move into the control room or control building at the process control center, where you train as a control man or a control panel operator. Within 2 years, I was competent on running the panel. I was assessed and deemed competent, and I got the certification. At that level, we were also assessed by CHITA, which is the chemical industry's body, and got an NQF level 4 qualification, which you can use anywhere you go, even internationally. Then from that PCC panel, in my section we have 2 control panels. I trained on 1 control panel and I was competent, and then I moved on to another one to control the other side of the process, and I completed both of them. Immediately after that, I was given an opportunity to act as a supervisor in the field. And while I was just acting, there was an opening for a supervisor, of which initially I didn't apply, but I was encouraged to apply by my manager. And I did eventually apply on the last minute, and I did very well in the interview, and I was promoted plant supervisor. And from the plant supervisor, the next level would be, there are 2 routes you could take. You could continue to grow in the area where you are operating from, or you could move towards a shift manager role. And I was earmarked for the shift manager role. And after 3 years as a supervisor in my section, I was recommended for moving to other zones to train for shift manager. I then moved to another zone. 1 year later, I then moved to another zone. A year later, I moved to another zone where I stayed 3 years, which was the North Complex area, in which I am now based. At North Complex, I came training as a shift manager, but at a plant supervisor role. And then at the end of the 3 years, I then moved into the shift manager's office for training in the office. After 2 years, I completed my training for shift manager. At the point of promotion as a shift manager, I was seconded for a role in the area I had just left, which was not complex. They seem to have liked the way I do things. There was an opening for process area specialist, and I accepted the role. And that meant that I had to leave the shift manager's office and go back to North Complex as a process area specialist. The process area specialist works under the area manager. Basically, it's a role above supervision, below the section manager, and you report to the section manager and you assist him in running the plant. You look at plant reliability, safety, and efficiency. I have been in this role now for 3 full years. Well, in order to get into a chemical operations learnership, which is one of the many learnerships you can choose after matric, all you need is a pass in matric with maths and science. The chemical operations learnership will take you through some theoretical training, which is class training in a desk, and then you will also get practical training in the field. Basically, when you arrive at the refinery, you go through the induction process, induction training, where the plant is explained to you. We are in a petrochemical environment. Some of the products we make are easily petrol and diesel. So you need to be inducted so that you understand the environment that you will be working in. The theory part of it, you get taught in a class, maths and science related, about how the refinery operates. Initially, you get given a process overview of the refinery, explaining how products are made from the crude oil, which is the raw material crude oil, and all the various products that we make. And you also get taught various aspects of the plant, how this raw crude is converted into these products. One of the main processes that we use in the refinery to separate and process this raw crude into various products is distillation. We use a lot of distillation where basically the product is heated up to various boiling points and separated to different fractions. So you will learn starting from a kettle that when you boil water in a kettle, there is a liquid that still remains at the bottom and some vapors will come up at the top. A process like a kettle type of distillation is called a binary distillation. But in the refinery, you will be taught a lot more, because you will end up learning more about binary distillation, and even fractional distillation, where more than one products are drawn from the distillation processes. There are other different types of processes that we have in the refinery, where you will also get taught distillation, alkylation, catalyst reactions. You will learn about various catalysts that we use in the refinery. From the classroom, when you have finished that aspect, you will also be given practical training, where from time to time you are taken from the classroom at the skills center to the plant to be shown these various equipments. And then later you will be divided into groups which are placed at various sections of the refinery, where you will learn the plant practically, working together with the other process operators who are already in the employ of the company. They will show you everything they do, and you will learn practically what gets done and what your future job will entail in the future. While you are in the section, the skills department normally gives you an assignment. In this assignment, you will be asked to explain all the process in the area that you have been training on. Basically, the learnership will give you theoretical training as well as a full practical training in the field to a level where you are competent to run as a process operator. Once I completed the learnership, I was employed as a permanent employee for the refinery as a process operator or technician. You may ask, what does an operator do, process operator do? Basically, we do plant monitoring. We assist in plant control, plant safety, sampling, and recording all the duties of the day. How do you go about this? In the mornings, because we are a production plant, we make product. In the mornings, we take over from the outgoing shift, and they explain to us the status of the plant and the process. And from there, if there are things we need to resolve during the day, we do that. But basically, for the operator, yours is to look after the plant. You start in the morning doing your routine checks on the plant. There are various pieces of equipment in the plant which you go to monitor. For example, what things do you monitor? There are various pumps, there are furnaces. You monitor the process variables, the pump pressures, temperatures. You look at the health of the pump or the compressor or whichever equipment. You check that all the requirements for that machine to operate smoothly with no harm are all in their correct ranges. You also do sampling. Since we make product, one of the duties of the process operator is to make sure that you take scheduled samples at the right times, and those samples are sent to the lab for checking for the product specifications. If the product is found to be off its specification, process changes are made with your involvement sometimes, and you will be asked to resample and take the sample to the lab. If there are plant upsets, you will work together with your supervisor and your process control technician in bringing the plant back to normality. So various times there will be plant upsets. That basically explains what the process operator does. He looks after the health of the process and the plant in the field. Thank you. From the process operator, as you grow in your field, you get promoted to a process control technician. These guys are senior process operators, but they work from the control center where there are big computerized screens where they can see the whole process. They are basically the guys who run the process. Just like a pilot in the plane, the process control operator is the one that runs the process. He can see all the process variables in these big computer screens and ensures that they meet the desired specifications. The process control technician works together with the process operator in the field. Wherever there is a query, he will contact the operator to go and check something. That's the interaction between the two. And the plant supervisor is the one ensuring that everything is going smoothly. From the process control technician, you get promoted to a plant supervisor. The plant supervisor is a junior manager, and he looks after the well-being of the process control technician as well as the operators, and he liaises with other departments during the day and at night to ensure that the plant health is still good. From being a supervisor personally, I was then earmarked for shift manager role. Now, when you train for shift manager role, you move to various zones as a supervisor. You learn the processes of that area, a different area from the one you started at, and you run there as a supervisor, because the role of a supervisor is the same everywhere. So in order for you to become a shift manager, you move from zone to zone at specified times until you are then seconded to go into the shift manager office. What the shift manager does is he is the manager of the refinery, especially in the night. You will have all the senior managers during the day, but in the night there is a guy called the shift manager who works with the shift supervisors on shift in the night as their manager. Basically, remember this, as a process operator, you will be required to work shifts. I should have mentioned this right at the beginning, that process operators work shift work. Well, when I was just completing my training as a shift manager, I got promoted into a zone area specialist at the North Complex area. The zone area specialist reports to the zone manager, and he works with the zone manager together with the supervisors on shift in running the processes of the zone. My daily duties involve coming in and taking over, looking at the process condition from the previous night, whether all process and plant variables are met. The production must be met, and that the plant is in good health. When I talk about good health in a plant, we have what we call operating envelopes. The plant must operate within the allowed range. So when we come in, we make sure that the plant is in a good, healthy state. We are meeting production. We look at things that may have gone wrong in the night, and we seek to resolve them in the day. On a day-to-day, there are planned jobs which we make sure that those jobs are carried out, but that's mostly done by the supervisor. My role as the specialist is to look at resolving more serious problems. If there has been a problem, or if there is a task that is coming up, which is a high-risk task, I will then look at it with the other disciplines, do risk assessments to ensure that when the job does get done, it is done in a safe manner. If there has been a plant upset, I get involved in what we call root cause analysis. It begins with troubleshooting, meaning looking for where the problem may be coming from and resolving it. And later on, we look at the root cause. What caused this problem and how we can prevent it in future. That's what entails most of my job. In the refinery, we also have what we call shutdowns. I get involved a lot in preparation for the plant shutdowns and startups, starting from planning, looking at various milestones, all the way to execution and startup. I have to make sure that as the area specialist, all conditions are met. There are procedures in place. Whenever a critical task gets done, all the paperwork that involves that task are in place with correct approvals. And at the end of the day, on a good day, we are responsible for ensuring that the plant produces the product at its optimal range, with the plant safety and healthy in mind. In 5 years' time, I see myself taking up my manager's role, which is the zone manager or an area manager as we call it in Engine. Basically, it's one step above my current role, which is the area specialist.